Welcome to Time to Teach with Tammy, the podcast that gives tips, advice, and suggestions to teachers by a real teacher. So sit back and enjoy. And oh yeah, don't forget to subscribe. And we're back. Welcome to episode 54 of Time to Teach. This episode is entitled Winding Down the School Year. And yeah, that's exactly what it's about. So this is actually going to be the last episode of the school year, which means that Time to Teach is going on summer break. I've mentioned this a few episodes ago. So if you are someone who listens regularly, you probably knew this was coming. We will be back. I project to be back in like mid-August or early September. Nothing is truly confirmed yet, but I kind of mentioned this before because I wasn't sure what I'd be doing over summer break with the show. Last summer I was very active, but that was because I had just launched the show in May, and I didn't think taking a summer break was the smartest idea after just launching. But now, after slightly over a year of podcasting, I feel okay doing that. So we will be going on break, just so you know. But I am also thinking there is a possibility, and I don't want to make any promises. Not that anyone's like, oh, please put out an episode during the summer. But I am guessing or thinking that it is very possible that I might get the itch to put something out and might do like a summer. Last summer I had a whole summer series where I talked about things to prepare in the summer. And I imagine I might do something similar, with content a little bit different. I don't want to put out the same thing, but I imagine I might do that. And if I do, that just might be if I feel like it and I get the itch and it happens, and then it'll be published on a Sunday. But I'm not guaranteeing anything like that because I think it's healthy to take breaks, and I've been doing that also over the school year, like winter break, spring break. My show also went on breaks during that time. It's easier as well for me just because my schedule is very different when I'm on break. We're just in and out of the city. You guys know I live in Guadalajara, Mexico, and I'm not from here. I'm from California, but I live in Guadalajara, Mexico, and we don't really stay in the city. I mean, we'll be in the city, but my husband has family outside of the city, so we end up doing a lot of things with the family, just coming in and out, doing little things here and there, going to the beach maybe for a week or so, and just like other places. There's a lot of really cute nearby colonial towns that we like to visit. So it's just kind of harder to keep a set schedule when we are on break. So yeah, so that's what's going on. The other thing that's going on is my wins and fails segment is now going to be at the end of the actual topic. And I'll explain more why, but a listener actually suggested that, and I think it's a great suggestion. Just because, I've always put the timestamps in the show notes in case anyone didn't want to listen to the wins and fails. And I think this makes it even easier having wins and fails at the end of the actual content. That way, if you just want to end it early, then end it early, because I get that many people probably are not interested in the wins and fails of my life. So I think that will make it even easier. So, you know what? On that note, let's go ahead and get straight into today's topic of winding down the school year. Now, I don't think today's topic is going to be anything that is mind-blowing. If especially if you're a teacher who's been teaching for a while, I don't really think that you're going to get some super new thing out of this, although you could get a little bit. I'm just going to kind of share, it's pretty much what I always say. I just can share my experience, and I'm sure I do some things that are different than others. So, I think that's the power of podcasting and the power of putting our stories out there and putting our voice out there, is that others can get ideas. And likewise, as I consume podcasts, and I do a lot more podcast consumption than I do blog reading these days, although I do some blog reading, but I get ideas from others. So I think that's the whole idea. So I'm just going to share a little bit of how I wind down the school year, things of what I'm doing, how I get my, just like last things that have to be done academically, and then how do I get my classroom ready for the summer, and all those fun things that are really not fun. At least I don't think they're fun. Maybe there's a teacher out there who thinks they're fun, but for me, this is kind of like the boring part of being a teacher, which I'm sure in any profession there are boring elements of what you do, and this is part of it. So what does the end of the school year look like for me? Well, first of all, I'll tell you this day that I am actually recording, it is the end of May. It's actually May 27th. And I still have about a month left, you guys. I'm seeing all these tweets and posts from people who are like, well, last day of school, or, oh, I've got one more week. And I'm like, yeah, I got another month left. It always feels like a very long school year that we have. And it's actually just a little under a month. So to be more accurate, the 22nd is my last day, the 22nd of June. And that day is just getting signatures, and I can leave in the morning. I have the last day of classes of school is June 20th. So that Wednesday. So, it's a little under a month, so I should really be a little more accurate in what I'm saying. But it does end up feeling like a very long school year, especially when I start seeing posts of everyone who's, bidding farewell to the school year, and I'm here with like 3 more weeks. But having said that, we do have a pretty nice size winter break and spring break. So I think that's partly due to it. So really can't complain there. Okay, so one of the things that we do, which I'm sure this is very typical to anybody in any school, but a lot of end of year benchmarking. So, the end of year is really just, I always feel like it's marathoning. So I can't really keep up my regular small group works. In fact, the last week and a half, I've just been pulling and doing running records, just to get the last, last documentation of where my students are in terms of reading. And even though I just did running records back in March, and then went out on spring break, and then I feel like I just did it, it's amazing how much these younger kiddos can move so quickly, because I just did running records, or so it feels, and I still have some kids who I'm like, oh, I'm trying to reach their frustrational level in reading, and even though I just assessed them in March, they've moved up. It just shows how quickly kids, at least younger ones, move up in terms of reading levels. And it just always reminds me how difficult it is to keep up with their reading, because it's so difficult because of that movement. So that's one thing that we're doing. I actually have our one of the gals who supports us, the one who actually supports us for pre-first, Jackie is her name. Shout out to Jackie if you're listening. I don't think she's listening. Really don't expect anyone to be listening, but if she is, Jackie, and she is a great support. She provides push in, pull out, and then she's just been so lovely. And when we do our running records, beginning of the year, middle of the year, and end of the year, she will sub for each of our pre-first teachers, so there are 5 of us. That's a lot of extra work on her part. I mean, it does mean on those days she's not providing push in or pull out, but to do these full days of subbing and going away from her regular schedule is a big deal. I feel like we're asking a lot of her, but she's always been so very generous with her time and providing this extra support so that we can basically have her as a sub and we can spend the entire day. Because I've been doing the last week and a half, I've been pulling kids, but I still am not finished. And I also need to do, their high frequency words, which we refer to as snap words. That's Lucy Calkins terminology. So if you're not familiar with her, you may not be familiar with that term, but so I've already been like doing a ton of work, it feels, and not having been able to work in small groups, just assessing, and I'm still not done. The other types of things that we do is our writing sample. I think I might have mentioned this on a recent podcast that we were getting ready to do that. And we just do these on-demand writings 3 times a year. And, you don't get the best writing out of the kids with on-demand because it is so very different than the workshop model. They are so used to being able to, really work a piece and revise it and then edit it, take it all the way to publishing. And the on-demand, we basically have 2 30-minute segments where we have them do this. So it's basically what can you produce to the best of your ability in these 2 30-minute segments. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I used to feel pretty anti on demand, but I kind of got to the point where I'm okay with it because we're not using it to record out on in terms of scoring a standard, although it could be part of the evidence. It's not the only piece we look at. It's just basically comparing the on-demand piece to their other on-demand pieces and showing growth. But of course, I'm really looking at the whole body of their work to be able to report out on. So this is just strictly internal, which is good. And that, like I said, takes 2 days. So I've done that, and I finished scoring it. Oh, I know, because I think that was a win when I said I had the quickest turnaround from the time that I gave it to the time that I scored it. So I think that's why it was mentioned. So yeah, I have done that, and I think I've inputted the scores. So I don't know that I was as quick as I could have been if I'd done that last step of inputting. I feel like I started, I just don't know if I finished inputting it. Sometimes I'm a big procrastinator in that way. But yeah, so that is one of our last things that we do. And it just kind of shows their writing growth, in terms of on demand. And then my last thing to do that actually we are doing this coming week is the math benchmark. And this just looks at the different standards that we've hit this entire school year. And we'll be able to internally report out on that. Again, I'm not going to use the math benchmark as a final. I mean, it's going to give me it's definitely going to tell me something about what my kids are doing, but I look at what my kids are also doing regularly because some of my kids are really prone to they just have anxiety when it comes to an actual test like this, and they will break down. In fact, my writing sample, I had one of my very strong kids, he just had a huge meltdown, and I feel rather guilty. Actually had 2 meltdowns. I feel really guilty because I kind of really amped up the writing sample, and I kind of hate that I did it, but I almost feel stuck. I don't know. So maybe if you guys have ideas on how to handle something like this, but I just know that if I don't remind my students of the importance of the on-demand writing, that we're really looking at their growth. So we got to do our really best. And I tell them, it's going to the office. Miss Dawn, our principal, and Miss Christina, the assistant principal, are going to be reading these. I don't know if that's the best way to package this, but I just have found over the years that if I don't let them know of the importance, also, our scores get looked at, and I always feel rather judged as a teacher, and I don't think my school is doing that. And I don't think that is the intention, but we do get compared across the classes. I would be lying if I said that wasn't the case. And that's nothing against my school. I think everywhere this is the issue where you have scores, you look at those scores, because data it doesn't tell the full story. It's just the numbers. It can tell you things, but you don't know, like you don't know everything else. You just don't know like the actual students behind it. You don't know their stories. It's just a cold number, and I don't know, in many ways kind of kills me because of that, but I do understand the importance of data as well. But I understand the importance of everything, combining all of it, so I would never just look at a raw score. But anyway, so I did have to package the writing sample and explain the importance, and I did have 2 meltdowns. So the first day, one kiddo just completely, like, he couldn't even write because all he could do was sit and cry. And the more time he wasted, the more he was aware of how his time was dwindling and how important this was. And that's what happened. So, that the whole reason why I started saying that is with the math benchmark too. I would never with anything just look at that, because I understand the kind of anxiety it provokes in many students, and that is not always just a real accurate depiction of what a student can do. You got to look at what they're doing on a daily basis, and that's why you got to be really good at collecting data and analyzing it. And it's not all just those summative assessments. Most of it, I would argue, would be what they're producing on a daily basis. It's just you have to be really good at paying attention to it and understanding what data you're getting, what information you're getting out of it. And if you don't do that, then you probably do feel like you can only rely on summative assessments because perhaps you haven't been pulling information from other sources. And I would encourage anyone who's not pulling from other sources to maybe begin the journey of learning how to do that, because it is really a lot of really good information that you can get just from anecdotal notes and observations. But you got to know how to look at that. So that's our last kind of thing that we're doing. And my grade level, I've assigned, you guys know I'm the grade level leader on my team, so I've assigned a day this week. So our team meeting days are Tuesdays and Thursdays, but I only assign a team meeting if we actually need it. Not trying to accuse anybody out in the world of planning meetings that are not necessary, but I'm sure that happens. But I definitely will only plan a meeting if we absolutely need it, and especially at a time like this. I don't think we've actually had a team meeting in 2 weeks, because I know that the teachers on my team, including myself, I include myself because I'm, being grade level leader doesn't mean you're just grade level leader and you do nothing else. You're teacher plus grade level leader. So you have all the same duties and responsibilities. So it's very easy to understand what the other teachers are feeling and experiencing. So this Thursday, I've set aside our team meeting will be to actually go over standards, which we try to do in any reporting bimester. So we will be sending out a report card. Obviously, it's the end of the year, and we need to make sure we're on the same page in terms of what constitutes a 3, what constitutes a 4, because we do a 1 to 4 grading scale on our standards. So that's what we're also doing to help kind of wind down this school year. I mean, we have these conversations, so we pretty much know, but just to make sure there are no questions, because inevitably there are always questions of what constitutes a 3 on this fluency strand, what constitutes a 4 on this fluency strand. So those kind of things those conversations are super important to have. really throughout the year, and we have had those conversations throughout the year. This will be an additional one. Some other fun things that we have happening grade level wise during this ending of our school year is we have a field trip to this new aquarium in the city. So that's coming up, and that's great. The last 2 years, and I was really bummed about this. I think everyone on our grade level team was bummed about this, but we've been going to this little farm. I know it seems bizarre, but there was a little farm that was just really close to the school. I mean, you would never know there was a farm walking down the street, which is pretty typical here in Mexico. You don't really know what's on the street because homes typically are behind large, they're either inside cotos, which would, I guess, be like a private residential. I don't know what that's called in English, but a private residential area, or you have large walls up. This is obviously for security reasons. So you can walk down the street and not really know what is on that street. It is kind of the strangest thing. Because I just know even like in our own block, well, my block actually, the fences you can actually see through. They're more like, I can't think of it, but yeah, well, just like fences that you can see through. Like it's not an actual solid wall. So on my actual street, you do get an idea mostly of what's on the street. But and I think that's probably also because this is an older neighborhood, so older homes, but most places are walled in. So you would never know that there's a farm behind one of those walls. So just kind of crazy. But anyway, this farm closed down. They just got complaints from the neighborhood, so that's sad. But there was this summer, was it, I believe? I don't know, but just recently a new aquarium, which it's a nice aquarium. I was very impressed because my family and I went on spring break to check it out. Anyway, we're going to go. This will be in lieu of the farm field trip, but because our last unit, this bimester 5, is all on animals. What's so amazing about animals is the name of the unit. That it's nice to have something animal wise to be able to end the unit on. So it'll be a really nice extension of our animal unit. So that's super, super exciting. Another exciting thing that we have going on is Kindra will be coming. Our students are researching animals, and then they take their graphic organizer where they have all their notes, and a lot of their notes are sketches. But they will be taking that and then writing books on the animals, and then Kindra will come and they will get to actually share their animal books. And the way it happens is every pre-first student is sharing with a kinder student. So basically we set up the desk to be like, imagine a U shape. So your desks are put in a U shape, and our students, pre-first students, are on the outside of the U. And then Kinder will come in on the inside of the U, and they'll meet up with one pre-first student. So a Kinder student to pre-first student. That pre-first student reads to the Kinder student, and when they're done, the Kinder student will find another pre-first student who's open, and then that pre-first student will read, and this goes on. It's only about 15 minutes, but the pre-first students love to share their books, and they feel really good. They're very excited because they know this is their audience, and as writers, it's very important that our students have an authentic audience. This is how we've been giving them an authentic audience in this bimester. So it's been really great. And it's only 15 minutes, but our students are so motivated knowing that kinder kids are coming. It actually helps them as they're preparing their books and they're writing. I always tell them, for your glossary, think about important words that a kinder student may not necessarily know. So they're always thinking in the back of their mind, would this be appropriate for kinder? Do I think a kinder student would know this? It just helps them to know who their audience is as they're working on their animal books, because it's just super motivating, but it does help them to really tailor their book, knowing that it's being, it's for kinder, so they kind of know more or less, I think a kinder student wouldn't know this, so I need to explain this a little bit more, do a diagram showing this, because probably a kinder student would be confused by that. So it's just really, really great. So academically speaking, those are pretty much what's happening. We're really, really winding down. Those are the last few big hurrahs happening in my grade level. And then the other little tidbits of what I do to get ready for the end of the school year, obviously kind of going through old posters that are maybe, if I can't reuse them because they're pretty well damaged, sometimes that just happens, then getting those recycled, checking what can be reused. We're a green school, so we're all about recycling and reusing. And then I have the kids help me sort through all our bins. So we have bins of everything, Legos, different kinds of manipulatives, blocks, so they kind of help go through, sort, clean them up. They're great end of the year activities because sorting is actually something we're doing in math, so it ties in really well, and they help me to organize, because then they can see like, oh, why is this Lego hanging out in the blocks bin, and they can put it back where it belongs, and they can just like clean it up, and it gives them something a little bit different to do because they are burned out, you guys. I've mentioned this before, but spring is our warmest season of the year. At least it feels that way. It's always felt that way to me, I guess, because the humidity starts to really build up into May, and then in June the rain will come. We start to get, it becomes our rainy season. Our rainy season is like pretty much June, and ends around December. And then, so summer is still warm, but the good thing is it feels at least cooler, because it tends to be that it rains at night. So you get some, you just get that nice relief from the rain. But May, it's like the humidity is building up, and you're almost to that point where you're like, I cannot take it. Well, it is hot. It is miserable. We do not have air conditioning in our rooms. There are a few classrooms that are fortunate to have that. But that's not the typical classroom. And kids are tired. Teachers are tired. It's just it's very hard the end of the school year. So I find having kids help in the organization, the organizing those bins, and then even going through a classroom library, because by this point, many books have been misplaced, even though we make such a big deal about check the sticker. Does the sticker match the bin? If it doesn't, please find where it goes. But then you inevitably always have those kids who just toss in the books inside the incorrect bin. And as you guys know, I did get a new TA this year, teacher assistant. And so in the past, my TA has always helped with trying to just get things ready for the following school year. That's something else that I do in my classroom. But it was nice because she would have known like what needs to be done. But what's really great is my new TA, she's already talking about things that she wants to get ready for next school year. So it's been awesome because we've been working together since, well, I guess January, but she picked up on things very, very quickly. And so she can already anticipate things that she would like to get started and do and get ready for next school year. So I'm very excited about that. And a lot of that would be like just, well, I don't exactly know what she's planning on getting ready now. I can't remember, so I'm trying to think. What did she say? But like in the past, it would be things like posters and, I think she was going to get the birthday things ready. That was something she talked about. It's nice to have little things like that, because those are things that, like, when you're really, really busy at the beginning of the school year, you're not always thinking, or at least I'm not always thinking of the little things that would be nice to have ready already, like nurses passes. I want to get those ready. Because the kind that I use is not just a nurse pass that comes back and forth. It's this little sheet where you have to like write in the student's name and the reason. Like you can check a box for the reason why they're attending or going to the nurse. So I like to have those little kind of things, if I can, pre-made, just because there's so much going on at the beginning of the school year that if you have those things pre-made, it just makes the beginning of the next school year a little more smooth, because there's so much going on, and it's, otherwise what I'll do is I'll just get things going last minute, and that's what I do too, and that's fine. But all of those things that can be done ahead, if you can get it done in advance, get it done in advance. You're just doing yourself a favor. So that's what she and I are planning on doing too. She's creating a list in her head, which I think is great. And then, like I said, I have a few things with the posters and whatnot that I want to get ready and made for next year. And then I also know that I have this closet that it's really hard as an international teacher, because what happens is you kind of inherit things that were there from previous teachers, and you never really know what can be thrown out, what can be kept. I mean, ideally they are throwing some things out. So my TA has said that she would like to organize the closet. I did not ask her to do that, but I'm more than happy to accept any help with that. I've been in this classroom for 6 years, but I don't know, I've not been able to really, yes, tackle a few things, but not the way I'd like to. Anyway, she's going to help with that. She volunteered. I appreciate that. I think that's great. So I'm excited about that. And yeah, I send all the kids their, the things that materials that they didn't finish. Obviously, that goes back with them. And then if there's any extra things, we always have like, the crayons that are old and whatnot. We usually end up donating to the science teacher, because I think he donates them to some needier schools in the city. So supplies like that are, nobody really wants to take them home, but there is a use for it somewhere else. So those things get donated. So that's kind of nice. And I don't know I can't remember if this is a painting year or not. If it's not a painting year, things can stay on the wall. Otherwise, everything has to come down off the wall so that maintenance can come in and paint over the summer. But I mean, that's primarily it. iPads get turned back into technology, the tech department, and yeah, that is it. I can't even believe that we're talking about the end of the school year, because it's just crazy. It always feels crazy. The school year goes by so fast. But I don't know. It's good. It's been a great year, a year of growth. So I'm so excited about that. And if you caught what I think was last week's episode, you guys know I batch, so I'm like, I can't remember now. Nope, I think it would have been maybe a couple of episodes before this, but I did a whole show on a year of growth, and it was a year of podcasting and also just personal growth and in the classroom kind of growth. So yeah, it's been a great year, and you guys, that's it. I think that's pretty much it. But I'm so excited that, it's been such a great year, and I'm always excited for a new year and just learning and growing, because you guys know I'm all about that. And even though this is the last official episode of the summer, if something comes up, I will put out like kind of a bonus episode, I suppose. I can't make any promises, but I don't know. There could be something that I end up putting out during the summer. But in the meantime, I say catch up on, if there are episodes that you missed from Time to Teach, take that time to catch up on these past episodes. Also, use this time to catch up on your other favorite podcasts. That's what I obviously with podcasts that I really, really love, I get sad when they go on break, like Invisibilia. That's one of them that I listen to, and they do like seasons. Um, so when you really like a show, of course, it can be sad when they go on break. And I don't think anyone's sad that I'm going on break. I'm just saying, I like to use that time to catch up on other podcasts. So I say totally do that. Catch up on any episode you didn't catch up on Time to Teach, but also take time, just listen to other podcasts. Something I plan on doing is obviously that catching up on podcasts. And I would say I want to kind of look at some topics that I don't normally um, listen to. I've heard Gretchen Rubin. She's another podcaster. If you don't know her, check her out. She's all about happiness and a lot of like personal growth, and I admire that. But one thing she said before, but she said in terms of reading is, or watching TV, I can't remember now, maybe it was both, but it's a good idea to, maybe read about a topic that you wouldn't normally read about. And I plan on exploring that this summer, maybe just starting with one topic that, okay, I would not normally be listening to, but I want to. So that's one of my summer plans. And then, of course, lots of reading, lots of reading. Okay, but before we officially wind down, we are now going to go into our wins and fails segment for the week. And I said I'll explain a little bit more about it. I did pretty much give you the nitty gritty of it, but I had a listener. His name is Randall Black. So shout out to Randall Black if you're listening. We got connected on Twitter. I think we must have been in the same chat. I don't really remember how it happened, or someone recommended his podcast because he's a podcaster too. He actually has two shows, the Randall Black podcast and then Ed Tech Shorts. So check them out. I'll include links in the show notes, but definitely check them out. Anyway, we just kind of said like, hey, we'll listen to each other's shows and maybe give feedback. So we did that. And his feedback to me, which I thought was brilliant, was maybe try putting your rinse and fail segment at the end of your show, because it takes a while for you to get into the meat of your show, which is definitely something I've been aware of. How many times have I said to you guys like, hey, we're 12 minutes in, we should probably think about starting this thing. So definitely not something that I wasn't aware of, but I don't know why I never thought about putting wins and fails at the end of the show. Anyway, I just thought that was a brilliant idea, because that's why I've always included that segment as a timestamp and when the actual topic starts, because I figured that there probably would be people who are not interested in hearing that. And if you don't want to listen to it, turn it off, whatever. And I think this will make it easier, because if someone's not interested in the wins and fails that I had, well, then, you can turn it off. So it just makes that a little bit easier. So Randall, thank you so much for that, because that was, I was brilliant, like I said, and such a great idea. So this is the first episode that I have actually recorded since getting that feedback. Otherwise, I would have implemented that much earlier, but this is my next recording after hearing that advice, so I'm doing that. So thank you, Randall, and thank you for listening and providing all the feedback that you did. I really appreciate that, and I really am open to any feedback from anyone. I've always said, you can tweet to me. I'm at TammyJ, TAMIJ123. Provide feedback, constructive criticism. Hey, as long as you're polite, just like Randall was. I have no qualms about that. I appreciate it. I'm always looking to be a better version of myself, and that includes a better version of whatever I'm doing, a better version of my teacher self, a better version of my podcasting self. So I'm implementing this because I think it's a great idea. So wins and fails for the week. Well, I feel like it was a really great week. I've already kind of mentioned it, but I've been doing a week and a half of running records. So I think for me that's a win, because I have the majority of that done. It's just so time consuming that the idea of it is it feels exhausting. So to be able to have the bulk of that done, and then like I said, Jackie from support services will be coming in and subbing for me on Tuesday, so that will be excellent. And then I can just finish out whatever running records that I still need to do. So yeah, that's really great. Another win is we concluded our PLC this last week, actually. So I've talked about that. I've done a couple of podcasts on that, but we've been at our grade level. I've been facilitating a PLC on non-linguistic representation. Marzano has a lot of work on this, so definitely check out his research. I'll put, if I can remember, I always say that, but the reason why is because I don't type up my show notes till later, and if I just happen to forget, I forget. But I will try to put, I will try to link his work in the show notes. If not, just look up the non-linguistic representation episodes that I've done, and his work is already linked on 2 episodes. But just really, really great stuff, and I just really feel like I've grown so much as a teacher. I've been using so much of his ideas. So a lot of them are things that I've been doing already, but now it's more intentional, and also using non-linguistics in ways that maybe I've not used it before, and definitely incorporating it more on student learning where I had not done so much of that in the past. Some of it, yes, but not the whole bulk of it. So yeah, we concluded that. We had our last PLC on Wednesday, and it was a reflection. So just kind of reflecting on our learning, and it was great to just have had a full year where we actually can dive a little more deeply into it. I just felt like that was really good, because a lot of times it's, you have a workshop here, you have a workshop there on different various things, or you have a PD day here and a PD day there on separate things, but very rarely are we given the time to dive very, very deep into a topic or an issue. And I just felt like being given that time, and it was built into our staff meeting days on Wednesdays. Every Wednesday we stay until 4. Well, I mean, I stay till after 4 every day, but section wise, we all do that. So that was great. In terms of fail, I've not really had any super, super major fails, but I did have this little girl who has been out for a week, or I want to say maybe like a week and a day. And I don't know, I'm just like the anxiety of catching her up on some of these things just to make sure she's ready for the kinder visit and having her book done. So there's some of that going on. So it was not really a fail, but just, it's just something else I need to make sure that I get her caught up when she returns. I think she'll be returning this week. I hope she returns this week. So I think that was pretty much it. Things like that happen because we only can control what we can control, and we can't control student absences. So you just have to make sure that you can figure out a way to catch them up. And of course you can't catch them up on every little thing. So you just got to take like that major thing that they need to be caught up on and go from there. But that's it, you guys. I am going to call this thing a wrap. But I just want to say thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for, making time to teach part of your podcast listening. I know we have so many choices in podcast consumption, so I really do appreciate your time. It's valuable, and I recognize that. But that's it, you guys. I'm going to wrap this up. I want to wish you a wonderful summer if you're catching this right now. And just remember, I will be back. I'm projected to return mid-August to early September. Maybe when I know a little bit better, I'll update you. Otherwise, I'll just be back mid-August to September when I figure out what I'm doing, but definitely will be back. I want to wish all of you a fantastic summer, and let's just keep on growing, and I wish you the best of luck, and I will see you really soon. Until next time.
Wait a minute. Wait 1 minute. Before you go, don't forget you can catch our show notes online at www.timetoteach.libsyn. That's libsyn.com. We're also on Facebook at Time to Teach. Don't forget to check out our Facebook group, Teachers for Effective Curriculum. And if you're an educator with your own podcast show, I invite you to join our brand new Facebook group, Teachers Who Podcast. Let's grow a community where we can network, problem solve, and discuss anything and everything podcast related. I'll see you there.